Hey, what's up guys, you got Crave here, and with the recent release of Chronicles 2, I thought I'd share with you some of the things that I found most interesting from reading the first book, which is World of Warcraft Chronicles 1. Now, I know some of these things might have already been hinted at in the games, and some, I suppose would be, you could call them quite obvious, but really some of these things were really interesting for me, and I found some of them quite surprising. Now, before I continue, if you'd like to find out on your own what Chronicles 1 actually contains, then I suggest you go ahead and, just go and buy the book. I'd rather not rob you of the pleasure of reading and learning if that's your thing. With that said, let's get started. There are 6 cosmic forces that make up existence. Now, in the World of Warcraft universe, there are 6 forces that govern or hold sway throughout the existence of Warcraft. Now, this is seen in a well-designed diagram which showcases the force of light opposing shadow, order opposing disorder, and lastly, life opposing death. Now, it is from these forces that the realms and major beings spring forth and define the vast reality of World of Warcraft lore. It is through these forces that the different energies in their own domains are made real. So we see the Burning Legion and their mastery of Fel coming from this order. From light, we see the Naru, who represent, the light, and the Wild Gods and their knowledge of nature spring forth from life. The Titans, easily controlling the arcane energies, are in the realm of order. The dark and foreboding void are home to, the Void Lords and their old gods, while Death's necromantic energies support the undead. Now, it's quite interesting if you've been playing Warcraft and its MMO counterpart. It's nice to know that the lore is so much more than just simply what we knew from Warcraft 1, which was just orcs fighting humans, Arthas and his undead in the Wrath of the Lich King expansion, and the threats of Deathwing and the Burning Legion is more than that. The second thing is that the Titans are quote-unquote allergic to Fel. Now, in the realm or area of order and its extension, the arcane energies, we have the all-powerful Titans who are responsible for shaping the universe's many worlds. While they are far beyond the different races we have in the games, they're pretty much high up there, they have their potential weakness. Fel energy or magic that comes from the realm of disorder is their major weakness. It is one of the strong reasons why Sargeras and his legion was able to defeat the Titan Pantheon. While Sargeras himself was a former Titan, he was able to quote-unquote fuse his own essence with Fel to become more powerful. Now, on a side note, and if you played the Legion expansion, I guess I could say I now have a better understanding of Khadgar's sadness after reading the first book. It does seem like we have lost potential allies in our fight against the Legion and the Void Lords. Note that I am saying potential mainly because the Pantheon does have this emergency reorigination process in case things go awry in some planets. So basically, if their plans for a certain world do not go accordingly, then they just simply press this emergency reset button and everything and every living being in that planet goes poof. The third thing is that Sargeras and the Titans are actually planet-sized beings. In the Chronicles, a piece of awesome artwork depicts Sargeras cleaving a planet in half, while in another piece of artwork, the Fallen Titan is depicted as about the size of a very large building. It is possible that the Titan can shrink in size, or the other artwork may be portraying one of Sargeras' avatars. In any case, Chronicle 1 now shows the monstrous size of a Titan. There is no definition on the size of Azeroth or any other planet as seen in the games, but this is pretty much a clear indication of the immensity of Sargeras' physical power. It makes the heroic act of Broxigar the Red seem so small if the artworks in the book are accurate. Another example of the vast size difference is in the keepers left by the Pantheon to guard Azeroth. Now, Tyr, one of the keepers, he fell or died in the area of Tirisfal Glades. A piece of artwork in the book also shows the broken hand of Tyr in the presence of Vrykul. As we know, the Vrykul are relatively pretty large humanoid beings. It was just his hand in that artwork, but it was still pretty huge. It might have been, I would say, artistic depiction, but that should give you an idea of what I'm talking about. When you really think about it, the armies in the original games and the raid groups in World of Warcraft are going to need much more help in the end if the goal is to bring down the Fallen Titan. An expansion's new zones actually make sense. There's a lot of history to be covered, but to keep it short, there was only one major continent prior to the Sundering, which created the major land masses of the Eastern Kingdoms, Kalimdor, Northrend, and Pandaria. In Deathwing's wake, many lands were changed, and those that were previously hidden to us are now revealed. Uldum and many areas at first, to a player like myself, it seems that strange to have these new zones introduced. It's as if Blizzard was just adding them for the purpose of having new zones to explore. As Chronicle 1 explains, the many areas like Pandaria have always been there. Many of the different races and sub-races we have basically traveled all over Azeroth before the creation of the 4 major land masses. This then explains many things that we find in World of Warcraft, but some of them are why the trolls and the Tauren variations can be seen nearly all over Azeroth, and also in the same vein, why the followers of the old gods can spread or are basically spread all throughout Azeroth, why Titan and Keeper artifacts and the influence they have stretch from Northrend all the way to Pandaria. When you think about it, the older Azeroth seems so interesting, but the Sundering is also a major reason why the cultures are so diverse, but yet similar in its current state. Number 5, the Titans and the Keepers are much like Greek gods. It's already very obvious, but the book further pushes the idea outward. I suppose it wouldn't be that intriguing if the lofty pantheon high up there and their trusted guard were perfect in terms of their morals or their allegiance. If they were, then there would be no Sargeras as we know him now, nor would we have seen the troubles between the Keepers in Ulduar play out. Odin, who is now well known in the most current expansion, acted high and mighty and forced Helya into servitude. The mighty warrior saw his idea, which was he thought was the best way to protect Azeroth, and did not see any error in it. He transformed Helya into the first Valkyr for the purpose of helping the Keeper raise a Stormforge army, or the Stormforge Valajar army. Quite a nasty thing to do in forcing someone to do something. Another example of weakness from the Guardians of Azeroth was Loken. We've seen him as the final boss in one of Northrend's dungeons. He was once a noble keeper, but because of the curse of flesh eating at him and the whispers of the imprisoned old god, he turned on his assigned charge and his own brethren. He got, I would say, romantically involved with Sif, who was already his brother's mate. It is these imperfect natures that adds to the worries of Azeroth and create the scenarios for which the heroes of Azeroth have to endure. Sixth is that the arcane power we see in Azeroth stems from the World Soul. As in the diagram I showed you earlier, the Realm of Order contains the heavy use and influence over the power arcane. It is possible that there are other sources of this energy, but the major source for Azeroth is the hidden Titan within it. Arcane energy is the lifeblood of any Titan. Now, thousands of years before the current period, the Pantheon once attempted to remove one of the old gods' presence permanently from Azeroth. This wasn't a good thing, as it resulted in a wound in the planet, which was actually a wound made on the sleeping Titan from within. The arcane energy has been a source of power for the Night Elves and the addiction of the Blood Elves. It was actually the lifeblood of a cosmic being. The idea of power arcane and a living Titan from Azeroth, or within Azeroth, was personally a surprising fact for me, and it brings a better understanding of the Warcraft universe as a whole. Number 7, trolls keep trolling. Trolls are one of the most resilient races in the more recent 1,000 years of Azeroth's history. They have been in many different areas, from the Eastern Kingdoms to Pandaria to Northrend. They have allied, worked against some of the more ancient forces. They have waged wars within themselves and with other races. Physically, as in the game, they are pretty agile and strong. Their regenerative powers also make them very hardy in battle. But to me, the most important thing about the troll races, of course they are important by themselves, but it is also because of them that the Night Elven race came about. The subsect of Dark Trolls discovered the Well of Eternity. Now the vast energy from the well transformed the brutish race into, well, it's relative, but it transformed them into their more graceful forms. Here is where the worship of Elune started, and soon the Dark Trolls had let go of their old trollish lineage and embraced their new selves as the Night Elves, also known as the Kaldorei. And there you have it, the
6 or 7 most interesting things I found in Chronicles 1. Now, I highly encourage anyone who is, well, actually, you don't have to be a lore junkie to actually appreciate the book. If you just played World of Warcraft and Warcraft 1 or 2 or 3, I really encourage you to get the book. It's a very easy read. The text and the ideas just simply flow, so it's not boring at all. In fact, I already finished Chronicles 2, and just like Chronicles 1, I finished it in one sitting. Well, I finished Chronicles 2 in one sitting and Chronicles 1 in about 2 or 3 days, mainly because there was stuff in the way. But yeah, it's a very easy read. I highly encourage you to learn more about the game you play if you are playing World of Warcraft or if you play the previous games. So if you found any other thing that was more interesting in Chronicles 1, let me know in the comment section below. And as always, thanks for watching.